Hello there, this is D, and welcome to unevenLive. I am recording this live from our community, our Uneven community. It is the day after Christmas and Hanukkah. Both were celebrated yesterday. Or I know Hanukkah was kicked off yesterday, and Christmas was celebrated yesterday. So, welcome to all our friends who are celebrating those two holidays. I think today, actually, I think I heard somebody say today was Kwanzaa. So, it's kind of like they're all packed together really quickly. So whatever you're celebrating, I hope your day is going well. I was reading some comments this morning on one of the posts. I put a post out last night when I got home. I came home early from a family gathering, had a few issues um, with myself, with my body, my symptoms, with my anxiety a little bit. And I left the party early. It was about 11 or 12 people there. And I left that early and came home. And I just wrote a blog and posted that here on our community on Uneven. If you want to see it, you got to come check us out at Uneven, and that's where you can find that. But talking about just big family Christmas and being torn about when you can participate in things and when you can't. And what was great is it really started this excellent downstream of comments from people. Rachel wrote in a full article. I love it when Rachel does that. In fact, she's got to take that and put that as an article. I think it's beautiful what she wrote. Yeah, she's laughing. So I got an LOL from Rachel. And but it was great because it really shared what she went through and how the day was going and what she was dealing with. And that's what we're all about here on Uneven, is sharing that with each other, because it's that community, it's that connection that's making, I think, this site become popular. And I'm doing a lot of ums. I always do a lot of ums at the beginning, I've noticed. Hopefully they wean off. What happens is when I first start talking, I start talking quicker at the beginning of these podcasts and stuff, and then things start to kind of ease out in any way. And then I get a little slower. My voice lowers just naturally, automatically after time, and then hopefully I don't have as many ums and guffaws and all those kinds of fun things. But anyway, I do want to slip in the title here. So by the way, everybody, welcome to Uneven. And that little pause there is for me to kick in the theme music, which you will hear. One of these times I'm going to start kicking that music in actually as I'm recording. I'm still doing step by step with my studio and getting things up to speed. And I did get my drink. I got the large today. It's Christmas. I can get a larger size of my chai. And I heated it up even more. I like mine extra hot, so it's nice and toasty. Anyway, I wanted to check in with you all really quickly at first and see how your day was yesterday. I've gotten some feedback here on this thread that I was just talking about, and it's been really great. Rachel told me about the struggles she was having. Other ones, I don't want to read too many names because I don't have permission to read names unless, of course, they're on the chat and they mentioned something on the chat. But had several different members just write in and talk about the good, the bad, the struggles they were having, and just all kinds of struggles with, issues within a marriage, within a family, people who aren't talking to other, which I have in my family, people who can't be in the same room with each other. I think some of you know that. I think one of those things I always have in the back of my head is when people talk about dysfunction and the family, is that I don't think there is such a thing as a functional family. I've never met one. and how do we define functional? I mean, I think actually families are just inherently functional because if it creates a place for people to commune, and sometimes creates, children and stuff like that, doesn't have to. It's just for people to gather and be together, then it's functional. But there are good things and there are bad things that happen, and there's discord within a relationship, and we've all seen that. We know how that goes. But that gets kind of interesting. Anyway, I hope your holiday was good or is continuing to be good, whatever it is you are celebrating today. I think that's great. I can actually take this little earbud out here. If you are listening to us only on audio only, don't worry. Like I've said before, you're not going to miss much with our Uneven Lives. I will be adding in some screenshots here and there as I get more used to my studio software. But right now it's just mostly the headshot of me. That might be my thumbnail. One of the reasons I pause sometimes is I do a thumbnail. And yes, My ums are still there, but I do have my koosh ball, which is kind of my default go-to. It's my stress ball. And I'm on several different calls during the week with people within our community. And it actually helps me focus and it helps me listen better is one of the reasons I have it, because I do have some ADHD and my mind wanders a lot. But I've noticed when I hold this thing and I just kind of play with it in my hands, and it's usually below the camera. Nobody even knows it's here, but I've been showing it because I show pretty much everything I do. I'm pretty much an open book within our community, but it kind of just calms me down. It relaxes me and it lets me actually focus. It's if my hands are doing something, I can actually pay more attention to the people, and that's what I'm there for, is to listen and pay more attention. I've noticed my mind doesn't wander as much when my hands are busy doing something, and it's funny because that started this whole kind of discussion of within our community of other people talking about, well, I crochet. I know Michael. I can share Michael because Michael's one of our contributors. Once you start helping us out, then I can share your name sometimes. But Michael's crocheting, and so is several other people on our site are crocheting while they're doing this. Sometimes, some people are watercoloring, some people are, and that's okay. This is we sometimes need to find things to keep us focused, to keep us moving. So anyway, moving forward, looks like we got about 5 people on. And Michael just texted and it says, I am crocheting right now. LOL. Love that. Thank you, bud. I've met so many amazing, wonderful people at the Uneven community. And of course, I do want to put the plug in here. I always have to do that. Uneven.life. Uneven.life. Come check us out. It is still free entirely through the end of January. We have a whole nother month of free access to this site. After that point, and probably next week, I'm kind of hoping, I know I've said this before, but I thought I'd wait till after the first. We'll post our fees once they come out and how things are going. And but this will be a feed site. But again, we're going to, of course, try to keep this moderate so people will have access. We'll have a couple tiers in it. So there's also will be a second tier where people can get dedicated support. We don't know exactly what that looks like, but it'll probably include support groups and some other direct type of help. And we have ideas. We're still kind of fine tuning that. But as far as this, everything's in the community right now will still be available at that moderate fee. We want to make it accessible for people to come in and be part of what we're doing. That's our real goal here. And that actually brings me to another content. And Lisa just mentioned in that she's also doing a little art while we're talking. And see, I love that. I have no problem with that. It's one of the things on the podcast I get. I recorded a podcast. When was it? Last week, I recorded a podcast here on Uneven, and it was one of those sleepless nights. If you haven't checked it out, you might go back to it. I think it was, I like alliteration in my titles sometimes. And what did I call that one? Let me go. I'm actually on the site here looking at it. It was, I'm in events. It's not going to show on events. Let's look under my discovery screen. New podcast available. It was called Recording Ruminations on a Restless Night. If you want to check that one out, that one was released a little bit ago, episode 64. And it was one of those sleepless nights. I've done this a few times where I have some insomnia and I can't sleep, and I grab my little digital recorder and I start talking to everybody. And it's kind of fun. Jean just typed in and said she just came in from walking. Oh, that's so cool, Ayla. It's great to see you, Jean, and see that you were out walking the dog. I walked my dog Murphy this morning, and as I do every morning, it's a great way to start the day, But the sleepless night, I recorded that, and one of the things I'd heard many times on the Benzo Free podcast that I've done for 5.5 years now was because I have a lower voice, especially when I relax, and my baritone voice, I think, is soothing to people, and I love that. I think that's great. I really appreciate it. I don't take any credit for it because it's nothing I did. I just happen to have a lower voice, but I love that it calms people, and I'm happy to use the skills or the gifts that were given to me. But almost every time I record something like that, I always hear somebody saying, I fell asleep to your podcast. And I can see how maybe some people might take offense to that. But for me, it was instantly, I love that, because here's a group of people who my sole goal is to support. That's the reason this podcast exists. And who many people are struggling with insomnia. And maybe my voice, and I think it's in part because it's a lower voice and it's soothing to some people, but I also think it's because it's a friend. People have become my friends through the podcast and gotten to know me. And I think it's those two factors that help people relax. And if that person who's not been able to sleep for 3 nights straight can listen to my podcast and fall asleep, it's a miracle drug. I mean, I love it. Why would I be upset about that? I don't get it. And so I love the fact that people write into me and say that I fell asleep to your voice. I think that's great. And if people are crocheting and playing with koosh balls and doing other stuff in the background, so these are all the things we have to do sometimes to get through events or difficult situations. And a lot of us do this, and we have our coping mechanism. It's okay. It's okay. I saw, so we got somebody wrote into EK. I'm not sure if that's pronounced correctly, so maybe this person can elaborate, but I just have it as EK. And it says, I'm actually in a long window and should be happy to be stabilizing, but I was down and irritable all day. I'm sorry. I'm not sure why. How do you accept that it's okay to just enjoy life again amidst the haunting memories of withdrawal? Whoa, that's a good one. See, God, I love that I have this chat room. So thank you, EK. I'm just going to say EK until you correct me. Okay, I hope I'm okay with that. That's a great one. How do you just let yourself enjoy life? You know, there's a lot of I'm not saying we suffer PTSD. That's all technical and it's all semantics and terminology. And I don't want to get into whether this is PTSD or this isn't or whatever. But there's so much similarities of that. And that is, many of us who have come off, say, medication like benzodiazepines, antidepressants, gabapentin, pre-gab, other psychiatric medications, whatever it is, tricyclics, we support all people. So, or whether you've been dealing with this really bad anxiety or depression or other mental health complications, this is for everybody. But one of the things we deal with is that this has left an imprint. This has left an imprint on our lives. How could it not? For some people, myself and some other ones, this has been a significant life-altering event. And I know so many people on our site are going through that or have gone through that. And that's difficult to get past. And I think that's what EK is talking about, is that how do you then start to, it's like, when this person is saying, I was down and irritable all day, I'm not sure why. And how do you accept that it's okay to just enjoy life again amidst that haunting memories? It's those haunting memories that stick with us. I have that right now. Let me use this as an example, if that's okay, EK. I hope you're okay with this, but had the nerve pain setback throughout the first half of this year into fall, about 6 months dealing with, some just really sharp pain hitting me randomly in my foot, and then other random pains. And then it kind of faded, and I was doing better as I was launching the site, and they've come back a little bit. Not quite as bad as they were, but they've come back. And exactly what you're talking about is what hit me. It's that haunting memory. Right now, I'm reacting more to the memory of the pain that I had before than the actual pain right now. And I realize that it's not as strong as it was. If it was, I used to say it was 11, but let's just keep it logical on a scale of 1 to 10. It was a 10. EK saying yes, thank you. It was a 10. And that was so severe, and it left this imprint, this haunting memory, as EK's mentioning. And when the new pain hits, this more recent one, it's not as severe, which is often common with some of our symptoms, is they come back in waves, but they often come back a little less each time. And that's how they start to fade. And right now they're more 6s and 7s and sometimes 8s, which isn't bad. And I can deal with that. But as soon as I get that, I jump and I move because I'm afraid of the 10 or 11 that's about to hit. And I'm reacting to memory, just like EK just said, reacting to our memory of those events. And whether it's a physical pain or a physical symptom, or it's a looping thought and anxiety progression that you're falling into, we get trapped. So now we've kind of covered what this is. I think many of us know. I have, 10 years coming off benzos now, over 10 years of memories. Thankfully, I don't want to say this thankfully. Thankfully, one of my symptoms is not a great memory. I even had that before. But one of my symptoms is of benzo withdrawal was my memory wasn't as great. And thankfully, because I don't remember everything I went through. And I'm grateful for that. I really am. But I remember some of it. And I can go back to my journals I recorded and see some of it, and it really surprises me. But it is there, that's stuck in the back of your brain. And here's a couple things. Let me try to mention. I'm not sure what EK is referring to, what medication, or and maybe this person will elaborate. But when you're coming off of a drug, especially, we have this withdrawal process that moves into sometimes a protracted withdrawal process. With benzos, we call it bind. With other medications, we may call it other things, antidepressant withdrawal, whatever it is. But it does seem like many of these psychiatric medications leave a lasting legacy of difficulty and pain for people. And it's difficult to realize, to understand what to do with it and how to handle that. And I think number one, it's that everything I've seen is that we do heal. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not saying that to just be positive. I'm not saying that just to try to give people the encouragement to continue on, although that's something I definitely always do try to focus on. But it's one of those things where I just realized that I'm very bright here. Hang on. See, I'm going to do this live because this is me. Again, warts and all. My camera is a little overexposed, so I'm bringing it down a bit. I don't know if that'll work or not. I don't know if I could have changed that. I should have changed it before I went on. That's okay. Whatever. I'll be a little washed out. I'll fix it later. That's welcome to Dee's brain. Oh, I have my koosh ball to stay more focused. Sorry, EK, but I do wander off sometimes. I always try to come back, but I do wander off sometimes, and that's just who I am. That's also my benzo brain. It's just kind of hard to do that. But number one is that we do heal, and for most of us, our symptoms get better over time. So logically, if you are having something come back for a little bit or having some symptoms, the odds are it's going to continue to get better, and you're going to get better from those. And that's one of the things we try to stay focused on. That's that positive imagery we can use. Another thing that I say constantly, it's become one of my mantras that I've used here on the podcast and other places, is for those of us that are coming off of medications, it is a healing process. And when I get symptoms, I often I try to use the visualization that it's our body healing. To me, it puts a positive spin. It actually helps us to focus more on that process. This is our body resetting itself after being inundated by these medications, so often for a long period of time. And I do believe that that imagery helps sometimes, because like when I get that pain come back in my foot, what I do with it is I suddenly shift and I said, oh, well, there's still some nerve endings down there that haven't been reset yet. I visualize that pain are these nerve endings still kind of resetting themselves and still readjusting. Right or wrong, maybe it makes no sense from a physiological standpoint. I don't really know, but it works for me. And it works for me to kind of picture that and to move forward. A third thing too, and I'll end with this, is that I think you have to decide how you want to live. I think you have to decide how you want to continue on. Do you want to stay here, in the pit, in the hole we've dug ourselves into, we've fallen into? Or do we want to start climbing out? Do we want to start to? And I think we all know we want to get back, but it takes more than that. It takes that conscious effort. It takes the work. And there are a lot of tools, a lot of cognitive behavioral tools and other tools we can use. And actually, your question is perfectly handled, I think, I don't know if you checked out counseling or not, but CBT is really good at dealing with some of these mind patterns, these thought patterns that get caught in a negative aspect. And it's really good. EMDR has been shown to be successful in some of this too, especially when there is a traumatic event in our past or that we're dealing with. These have had some pretty good results. And so counseling is always a good thing. And I always recommend that for people. Again, it's like finding a doctor. You want to find a counselor who you can work with, who you trust, who you're comfortable with. And that's the main thing. And it's okay to try a few different doctors. I went to 3 or 4 different ones coming off of benzo. So I've been there, I've done that. But CBT, I think, is another good way to deal with this and try to manage things. But in the end, it's about having hope and having a positive outlook and finding a way to find that. And so you can stick with that. And so that you can stay like I did yesterday, say, it was a rough night, but tomorrow will be better. And actually believe it and know it's going to happen. And sometimes tomorrow's still a little rough, but you know the next day there's a good chance it'll be better. Things do get better over time. The problem is we often don't notice that positive transformation as well as we notice the negative one. I can't tell you the number of people who have told me, and I have experienced this myself, that, months later is when I realize I no longer have a certain symptom. I no longer have a certain pain. I no longer have a certain twitch or something, or stomach distress or whatever. Because we notice when it starts and we notice when it's severe. We don't always notice when it ends. We start to get back into our lives and things start to get a little bit normal. And so we lose out on the benefit of that celebration. And I think that celebration helps us not get trapped in the negativity of that, haunting memory of withdrawal. So I don't know. That's off the cuff. I don't know if that was at all helpful, EK. But I know there's a lot of other useful things. I think CBT is excellent for this. I do think there are a lot of tools you could do. So I said thank you. Thank you so much, EK. Thank you. Anybody else got anything else? Please feel free to put it in the chat. I love that. I love that EK did that because it's exactly what this podcast is for. It's for people to come on here, ask a question, mention a comment, want to talk about something. And that's what I'm here for. I have things listed here to talk about, not because that's what I think this show would be. It's so that I have something to fall back on. But this is a live event, and this is about me responding to you all. And if you want to be part of this, again, come join us at uneven.live. And for the unevenLive. I know it's confusing to say unevenLive and unevenLife because I think I should stop using the unevenLive because then I think people think that's our URL, which it's not. Our URL, our domain is uneven.life, L-I-F-E, and that's where you can find us at. So come join us and be part of this. And also, as we keep moving forward, we'll have people add comments even to our event in advance. So then I'll have an advanced things to talk about and stuff like that. So anyway, let's move on to a couple of things. One thing I've noticed lately, and I wanted to kind of say this out to the benzo. I say benzo community because I lived in the benzo community for so long. My apologies for that. For other people who are here because of other medications and other conditions or just anxiety or life or whatever, but that's going to be a habit I'll break over time. But I spent the last several years working primarily in the benzo community and then somewhat in the anxiety community, and so I still have that habit to fall back on benzo community, but in the support community, let's go that direction. In the support community, one of the things that's come up lately is I know we've gotten some new people. Some new people came over here and joined us, and I love it. I love the fact that we're over 180 members now, and our original goal was to reach 100 by the end of the year, so I think we did that. And I'm feeling really confident, and we haven't even done a lot of promotion yet. We'll probably start some of that in January, and I'm looking forward to. Michael says, woohoo, thank you, Michael. Appreciate it, buddy. But I know we're onto something. And this is not me gloating in any way because this isn't me. I really don't think so. I think I built the structure and I put it out there, and I do think I have a reputation of somewhat in certain communities, and people know me, and I think people think they know me and they do know me because of the podcast, because I'm so open with that, and I think that's been helpful to people. What I want to talk about is what everybody else has created here. I can't imagine. I'm blown away by the energy that has come onto this site. I built a shell and I put some guidelines down. I've told you this before, and I kind of based it on some of the principles I learned, going through my 40 episodes on benzo free, and now another 65 episodes now on uneven. So I'm over 200 episodes of podcasting on these topics, and that helps, and that gives a foundation. And I think maybe I'm the right person to create this community. And I know there's a lot of other great communities out there, and I always want people to know that, to realize that. And that's the one thing is, I'm amazed though at the people who have come over, the people who have come and joined us, and what they are providing on this community. And people who are struggling sometimes in some of the most difficult waves and groups of symptoms and everything else, and even just their current mindset is so hard to overcome with those ruminations and everything. And yet they still are there helping other people and are commenting on somebody else's difficulties. And I don't know, the only thing I think to myself is, why didn't I get this launched years ago? And it was because I was still dealing with my stuff, and I was still doing other work and kind of building up the background and maybe the foundation for this. But what I'm amazed at is the people who are coming over. This is just incredible, and I'm loving working with them. Some of the people are becoming our guides, and that is incredible. And some have become some leadership with me, and other ones are contributors and advisory board. I have different positions out there now, but it's been great. Anyway, being part of this community though, and as amazed as I am, people have come over, and I know some people have come over from other communities, and maybe they're on both communities, and maybe they've come over and joined our community instead of another community. And I know some people have come to our community, realize this is not for them, because people sign off. I'd like to have that, when you leave, you could leave the comment, not because I want to talk them into not leaving, but I want to know so we can try to remedy things in the future. But I don't know when people drop off, and some people have dropped off here when they've checked it out. Some people probably have come on and are just not here very often and forgot they even signed in, and I get that too. So, and some of those people went someplace else and found support. What I want to address here is, this topic came up in some conversations with me and some of my guides, and some of our guides. I don't want to say me, because it's not my guides, it's our guides. We're a community here. With some of our guides and some of our leadership, and just talking about it. It's a great conversation. I don't know a lot of what goes on outside of Uneven on the community wise. I know what goes on with leaders when we meet and we work on projects, because I am involved with several different leaders and some research projects and creating other projects and stuff like that. And people have pulled me in on things, and I love that. And I always try to pull them in on things. And we've been involved in a lot of cross projects and stuff like that. But as far as what actually happens in other support groups, I'm somewhat naive to that. And I'm glad. Number one is, I've never been a big social media person, although our site is a social media platform basically, but it's a private social media platform specifically to feed a certain community. But I don't go out there. I don't go on other sites, and I don't do that for a lot of reasons. Number one, I don't have time. That's just really what it comes down to more than anything else. Is I want to support the other communities. I really do. But I think most of us out there, I don't think most other people, not a lot of them, are on our site. We just don't have time. There's so much time trying to keep ahead of things, and managing this thing is this site takes a lot of my time. And so I don't have the time to really go out there and check those out. Two is, I don't necessarily need to be exposed to that, because I think different people have different ways of approaching things. And also, I don't want to be, I want to do our own thing here. And, if you're exposed to a lot of other information, that stuff's going to become part of what you create. And I wanted to create our own thing. And so our site is built off of, the foundation I laid down, and then all the members coming in and what they're asking for and what they're telling me they want. That's all I wanted to base it off of. And that's what we've done. And I think that's been awesome. But I wanted to talk about how I approach this and how we approach this. And I just wanted to put that out there in case other community leaders are listening to this, but mostly for everybody else who's listening to this, so you understand where we come from. One is, I am not a competitive person. I think most of you who know me know that. I have run a podcast and support site for 6-7 years now and made zero money on it. And I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I've had other people on our show all the time, and I'm always promoting their work. So that's just not who I am. And I never have been. And if anybody thinks I am or doing that, please reach out to me, because I think that's not who I am. And second is, I don't see any other organizations or any other communities except for Michael just wrote in, except in the football realm. Thank you, Michael. That is true. My Chiefs did win yesterday. I feel I apologize to those Pittsburgh Steeler fans out there, and especially my one of my new nephew, my niece's husband, who was a diehard fan. I did reach out to him and and let him know that that we won, as we do sometimes. But yes, except for the football run, which I do get competitive, but all in good fun. I love trash talking. I love doing that and ribbing people who like to tease me about football because that's fun. I get into that stuff. So thank you, Michael. Anyway, I was somewhere. What I'm trying to say is that our site is, I want to work with as many organizations as possible. Sometimes people are going to come to our site and it's not right, and I want to be able to refer them to another site. I want to integrate. I'm hoping we're going to work with coaches. We're working with coaching groups. Since we've launched this, I have had Dr. Yosef Witt-Doring on from taperclinic.com. Great interview, great conversation. I have spoken to Jake Ressler, who's launched his own group over there. And of course, he's also from the Reddit group. I have had oh God, so many people on different things, and I should look something up really quickly. Hang on. This pause is me looking. That's it. There we go. That was a weekly podcast recording. I was pulling that up. Okay, sorry. Something had popped up on my screen, and it was on the site, and I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something that I could incorporate into my discussion. Anyway, I do get distracted. What I'm trying to say, which I do sometimes in a very roundabout sort of way because I do ramble and I have trouble getting to my point, and I'm sure some of you are in the background saying, would you just get to the freaking point? And I'm going to. So my point is this. Uneven is designed as a community, and a community for the whole person. So we're trying to help people all different aspects. We have some social events going on. In fact, we have our holiday party Friday night. If you want to come join us right now, you can come join that. We're going to have some fun, some prizes, that kind of stuff. We do normally on Fridays. We also have a lunch hour. This one, we're not going to have this Friday because of the party. And we do, we have other things. We got book club, and we got, all these different events that are also, we're trying to feed the whole person. We're trying to help people out. And sometimes parts of what we do look like other organizations, and that's just going to happen because we've all been in the same community for a long time. But this is all just organic, and it's all built from the people who have come over and have told me what they want. That's it. And honestly, by not being exposed to some of these other sites, I know that I'm not getting ideas from these other sites because I've not been there. Now, some of the people we have work over here have, but that's not where these things are coming from. These are just things that people are asking for, and hopefully we're providing it for them. But I believe that our one goal is to provide support for people who are struggling, period. And for many of those people, sometimes it takes more than one site to help out. Sometimes one site is helping out for a while, and then there's another one that's doing better. Sometimes it's, there's other ways to go about it. Sometimes, people are going to be on here and also want to taper. And our goal is to work with everybody. Our goal is to help support, help promote other organizations. That's what we do. And we're going to try to do that as long as we don't believe they're doing anything egregious, like, telling people to suddenly cold turkey benzodiazepines, which is dangerous. As long as they're not doing things like that and they're using general good principles, we're happy to support other people that are working in this community because it takes all of us. It takes all of us. And I'm new, and I'm going to ruffle some feathers as I get out there. And maybe I do, maybe I have, I don't really know. And I'm okay with that too. But to the other community leaders, I would love to cross promote. I would love to promote the work you're doing. I hope we can do more of that. I want to have more of those community leaders on. I'd like to support the work you're doing because it takes all of us. It's going to need all of us. There's a lot of need out there. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of struggling. My main goal is not monetary, although I'm trying to create a paid site here because at some point I needed to find a way for this to be successful going forward and to be able to have, revenue enough to keep this going. but I've done it for 5.5 years with nothing. So I don't think anybody can honestly say that I'm driven by the the money. But we're driven by trying to provide support and provide a home and provide a community for people. And our goal is to work with all these different organizations. That's our goal. That's really our goal. So, um, I'm hoping that they feel the same way. I don't know. I want to talk about this, but I rambled on a little bit. And there's some amazing groups out there. I mean, I will just shout out to some, pretty incredible ones up front. I think it's, one of the names that pops up all the time on the benzo side, and I'm just going to throw it out here because I think these people are amazing. And these are the ones that are out here long before I was. I've been at this in the community now for about 10 years, maybe 8 years really doing kind of providing help. But already out there that have been working for so much longer is Baylissa Frederick. Amazing, incredible. Go check her out. If you haven't, you got to check her out. She's incredible. Jennifer Lee, another really solid person. She knows what she's doing. We've worked together off and on a couple times along the way. Just amazing people that have been doing this work for a long time. You got the group that runs BIC, Benzodiazepine Information Coalition, who are incredible. JC and Nicole, and that group over there. And Nicole, I know, is one of those people out there that's been off benzos longer than I have and still going at it, but with the background and all the work they're doing great work. And you got Bernie over at the Alliance working along with Dr. Ritvo and all the people at that organization and all they're doing, and Carrie over there. And there's so many amazing people, and I know the benzo community better because that's the community I came from, but I'm really trying to get myself to understand the antidepressant community and these other communities out there. I'm blown away constantly at the amazing people who are so often just doing everything they can to try to help people who are struggling. And there's so many people out there that are great, and met Dr. Yosef, and I think he's doing great work, and I want to continue to work with them. And Jake Ressler, over lifebeyondbenzos.com, go check him out. I think he's got something really good started there, and he has a really good insight into the amygdala and the different damage that's done there. So please, if you don't know much about him, check out the podcast we just recorded with him. And we've been teaming with other coaches and other groups out there, and that's what we like to do, and we welcome that. We welcome that. So we're going to try always provide resources for other outsourced sources. And if you come to Uneven and you find it's not working, and you reach out to me in chat and say, hey, this isn't working for me, can you help direct me someplace else? I will gladly do so if I can find a place that I think might be a fit for you. Our number one goal is to find a place that can provide you support, period. That's our goal. That's what I want to make sure all our guides are doing. That's what our people who work here, that's one thing that we are going to stay true to. So we are not competitive. We don't see anybody else as a competitive site. We want to work with the other sites. We want to work together, providing an overall, community of support, answers, and solutions for people. I think that's our goal. So thanks, Rachel. Rachel likes the direction I think that's going, so I appreciate that. But I'm not going to keep rambling on too long. I probably should wrap this up pretty soon. But this has been fun. I like these open ones. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about, was that, and just what we offer. And I know, we're just a little more open. I talked about our guidelines here last week, I think, on this, and one of those came up again, which was how we're different. We are different. We're different than all the other sites because we do unique things, and they do unique things. And we are focused on life, anxiety, medication. Any of those items. If you're struggling with life, if you're struggling with anxiety, if you're struggling with medication, or struggling with all the above, that's the area we're focused on. And we take it from a standpoint of, again, this was one of our guidelines, but we are a friendly space, not a safe space. And I want to just mention that, which is, we want to encourage people over here to be able to speak as freely as possible, to be able to have some freedom of expression, to be able to talk about their symptoms. I know at some places that's more restricted, and probably for good reason. I'm not at all questioning why they do that. And maybe I'm naive in thinking we don't need to do that here, but we're something different. Those sites probably work great for people who are highly sensitive to those conversations, and that's the place they need. We're more of a place where I want to encourage freedom of expression. I believe that sharing those symptoms, sharing what struggles you're going through is what's connecting the people within our community and where they're helping each other out. And I don't want to suppress that. I never do. And so that is not our goal. Our goal is to allow you to speak. Now, we do have different spaces in our community. We have different spaces you can go to. And you can actually block off a space. You join spaces when you come to our site. And if you don't want to hear the more controversial topics on our opinion space, that's what it's called, is opinion, then you don't join that and you won't see it. If you don't want to know about the stuff at benzos, but you want to be, tuned into antidepressants, great. You join antidepressant space. Everything at our site is in a space. We're just this whole group of spaces, of these subgroups. And you can join what you want to, and that way you have some control over what you're exposed to and what you're not. But overall, when you come on here, we're not censoring you and we're not limiting what you say. As long as you treat everybody else with kindness and respect, you don't attack people, we're glad to have you. We're glad to have you. I'm going to wrap this up. I hope everybody's having a great holiday right now. I think that's really hard for a lot of us to do. I think it's really hard. And I know we opened with that, but I think it's a struggle for so many of us. And I know I had my little bout last evening and talked about that in the blog post. And Rachel wrote about hers on a comment to that blog post. You might want to go check that one out too. And other ones wrote in too. I think Michael and some other people did. And some really good feedback of what the holiday yesterday was for those that celebrated Christmas or Hanukkah, and for everybody else celebrating all the other different festivals of this time of year. It's difficult for a lot of people. For some, it's the most wonderful time of the year. And I always go in thinking that. I'm always very very anticipatory for it because I can't wait to get into it. But in the end, it comes with a lot of stress. It comes with a lot of personality conflicts, family, friends. And it's hard for those of us with a diminished capacity to deal with those factors, to deal with that. And the best we can do is do the best we can do. Manage our symptoms, manage our reactions, set a few boundaries here and there. And you know what? Just allow room for a little bit of grace. A little bit of grace for yourself. And a little bit of grace for everyone else. I think with those things, we'll get through this holiday just fine. Thank you all. Love you all. I'll see you soon. Bye. Hey, this is Dee. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out our podcast. I do need to remind everyone that this podcast is for informational purposes only and should never be considered medical, psychological, or professional health advice of any kind. If you or someone you know is dealing with significant mental health issues, please seek professional help. Resources can be found in our show notes and on our website at unevenpodcast.com. Take care of yourself, and I'll catch you on the flip side.